Hello, this is Victoria Pendragon. Welcome to my alternate reality. I wanted to tell you an interesting story today, because I've been working a lot with Feng Shui lately, writing a lot about it. I had a more than decade-long career doing Feng Shui consultations and teaching Feng Shui. It was a very critical part of my learning energy. My teacher, Melinda Joy Miller of the Shambhala Institute, my first teacher, so I had a few, was the perfect teacher for me. Very eclectic in her views, with some Native American background. She brought a very wonderful richness and ease to the study of Feng Shui, which can be a little rigid if you happen to learn it in one of those places. I'm not a rigid person, did you notice? At any rate, the map of Feng Shui, for those who are not familiar with it, is essentially, it's called the Bagua, and it's a compass-oriented thing. It's usually viewed as an octagon, and an octagon, of course, has 8 sides. And in the case of the Bagua, 8 sides and a middle. So it has 9 points. And they are, in fact, each of the directions is numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, although not sequentially, not around the Bagua. It's numbered differently. It goes from 1 is here, 9 is directly opposite it, and the numbers go around a bit like that. So it's not a circular movement that then goes into the center or anything like that. There was an exercise that Melinda had us do in one of the very first classes that I took. And I was very, very, very drawn to this. I had already been acquainted with both shiatsu and acupuncture, and so had a little taste of the Asian approach to health and well-being and the elements, and so was comfortable with these notions of there being elements associated with the directions of the compass: wood, fire, metal, water, so on. Well, this exercise that we did was called walking the 9-pointed star. And the 9-pointed star was a metaphor for the 9 directions on the Bagua. And they were compass directions: north, northeast, east, southeast, and so on. And of course that centerpiece, which was the center. And your task was to get up and, facing the front, walk from number 1 to number 2 to number 3 to number 4 to number 5 to number 6, and so on. And so it was not an even path, which meant essentially that you were showing with your body and incorporating into your body this map, because you were walking it. And you always faced front. So sometimes you were walking backwards and sideways, but still looking front. So it was also challenging to the body in the way that walking backwards and sideways is. A really excellent approach to getting you to know something, since you know best with your body. Well, I almost didn't get through the exercise. With each little section that I took, and I mean, this is not a big deal. We're talking about the size of a carpet, a rug, on the floor, maybe 8 by 10 or something, that you're walking this. And I was getting sicker and sicker and sicker by the moment. I had felt perfectly fine when I got to the class. When I stood up to do the exercise, I was fine. By the time I got done, I was ready to vomit. There's really no reason for that physiologically. I asked if I could be excused. I went outside. The class was being held at the home of a friend of hers. I went outside. I found a lovely hedge and lay down on my back behind the hedge. And within instants, I was somewhere else. I was another person, and I was in China. That was clear to me. I was a gigantic man, but I was Chinese. There was no doubt about that. But I was just, well, gigantic by Chinese standards, I guess you would say. So perhaps I was 6 feet tall, but I was Chinese. And I had on this fabulous robe. Oh my heavens, it was silk. It had a peacock on it. And I was a Feng Shui Master. I knew that. And I was walking somewhere, I don't know where. But there was this incredible sensation of embodiment in a giant man. He was very broad. If I close my eyes, I can become that person again in a physical sense, in the feeling sense of that physicality. It was the most real kind of trance-like thing that's ever happened, or that at that point had ever happened to me. And it was just vivid. I knew who I was. I knew my name. And I knew that people considered me both arrogant and pompous, and I carried myself that way. It was, again, another remarkable experience. And when I came out of it, when I slipped out of it, and I sort of had to pull myself out of it because somebody came out to see how I was doing. And I had to shake myself off and out. Later, days later, I happened to be going through the I Ching because the I Ching is closely related to the directions of the compass. Again, not in a sequential fashion, but all over the place. And I noted that my name, the name I had perceived myself as in the trance, was a combination of 2 of the hexagrams of the I Ching, and they were gain and loss. I had no idea. I mean, I really, at some level, maybe I had some idea, subconscious level, because heaven knows I'd been reading the I Ching off and on since I'd been in college, where I was first introduced to it by a classmate. It intrigued me, and it pissed me off, because it was so metaphorical that you couldn't easily grasp what a thing was telling you. It was, I read that off and on, bought it, gave the copy away. I was so disgusted, bought another one, gave the copy away. I think I must have gone through 6 or 7 of them before I got to Feng Shui. I now have 6 or 7 of them, all different versions, and am very comfortable with it. And apparently at one point in my life was quite comfortable with it, because I don't think that was a real name. Not that Pendragon was my real name, but it's my real name now. Reality, it's out there for you. There's a lot of it. Apparently you can pick and choose a little. I love it. I hope you do. Bye.